All right, good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, June 29th, 2021, and we're going to get started here with our pre-market analysis of the S&P 500 futures market. So as usual, we will jump to our ultra-high time frames just to see if the picture looks any different here. And right now, our quarterly and our monthly both look very strong, like we've been saying for probably a few months now. On our weekly, we did get a lot of bearish indications up here, including off of yesterday's candle, off of the candle that closed for last week. Unfortunately, there hasn't really been any follow through from that signal, and we seem to be hovering right around the highs here. So the market is having a little bit of difficulty having any type of strength into a push to new all-time highs. We have pushed a few points higher, so we do technically have a new, a higher all-time high, but things seem to be petering out over in this area. Off of that previous candle, we don't necessarily have any indications of exhaustion now. So if we continue to push higher here, and we do stay above that previous weekly high of 76.75, and this RVI does continue to slope upward, then we will negate all of these previous bearish indications, and it will be back off to the races until, of course, we get another bearish sequence going on. But right now, this weekly candle has broken to new all-time highs, and the RVI has now pushed higher than the previous candle. So things are looking fairly strong here. Not necessarily any signs of exhaustion over here. Of course, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the market could push past 76.75 here, where we got our bearish indication, push up a little higher, and then have some larger correction. So we do see that a lot with a lot of our divergent signals. We get a really clear push. They come back, they break the low of the divergence by a point or two, and then they continue to go in the direction of the indication. So that's not, like I said, out of the realm of possibility here. On our daily, looking very, very strong here. No indications of exhaustion, coming up into a very strong area in the RVI range. Really the only clear indication we've had on the charts was the bullish indication off this 26.75 low back on June 21st. And since then, we've just been off to the races very strong. So all of the higher time frames and ultra high time frames look pretty strong and don't necessarily have any indications of exhaustion so far. When we jump to our 4-hour here, we did have a pretty decent bullish divergence off of 72.50 in the overnight session here. And the low that was based off of was 71.75. So when we jump down to our 60-minute, you'll see that the indication was actually shown at 71.75 on the 60-minute. The 4-hour confirmed it just a few ticks above that. So we do have that bullish indication there. And then the bearish indication that we had off of what looks like is the previous daily high at 42.82 is now, we've just broke it by a few ticks. So again, we have a bearish indication. We could potentially push up and break that just by a little bit and then have the sell-off. But right now we do have a nice clear bullish indication from 72.50, which has led to pushing and breaking through 42.82, where we got that bearish indication from yesterday's high. So let's go down to the hourly, and again, this hourly here did have a nice clear bullish divergence off 71.75 in what looks like the early Globex session yesterday, about 7 p.m. Pacific time. So it's basically nighttime on the East Coast there, and decent push from there. Got some more bullish indications over here, which got through our bearish indications at 82. And then we did get just a little bit of a bearish divergence on this candle that closed at 5 a.m. So let's see here. Yeah, so bearish there from that 5 a.m. candle, but seems to be some recovery here. And so we'll have to watch here this morning. We do have that high at 42.83 quarter, which is our new all-time high. So I might as well just go ahead and mark that here, and we'll make it white for all-time high. So we'll have to watch that level. But overall, pretty strong looking here on most of the high time frames. We do have the potential that they could push just a few points higher and then have some type of sell-off, but things are looking strong. Let's go over to our 30-minute here. And 30-minute basically agrees with the signals we had on the 1 hour. There wasn't necessarily a nice clear bullish indication where we got it on the hourly and the 4 hour down here around 71.75 to 72.50, but some decent bullish indications in the overnight session. And then we have an agreement up there off of that 83 quarter of some bearishness there. So we're going to have to watch that level. I will go ahead and copy it over here. So we're going to want to break through that to get through any of the bearish signals we have this morning. And I think that's all we have here for the 30-minute. Just that bearish indication off of the new all-time high. And then two pretty decent bullish indications in the overnight session here. So on the 30-minute here, or I'm sorry, on the 10-minute, I think we also did have the bearish indication off of the high there. I don't think I marked this up before I started here. And then that 72, 71 area. Definitely have what could be argued is some bullish indications right there at 72.50. So more agreement down there around that 73 area. So this is the 50% of the previous daily price action. And since we did have a number of bullish indications right in this general area, this is going to be an important level to hold above for the bulls this morning, this 42.73. And then, of course, just remember it did push down to 71.75, and we got a bullish indication there, not only on the 10-minute I'm actually seeing right here, but on a number of other time frames, either from 71.75 or 72.50. And we've got this pretty decent push so far this morning. And then what I am noticing is we had a bearish indication on this first push here just maybe about 45 minutes ago. But you can see they're breaking through that bearish indication. So it's basically being negated now. So things look a little bit mixed this morning. If I could just kind of summarize what we've talked about here. Our ultra high time frames all actually have very bullish indications, no signs of exhaustion. Same thing with our daily, and pretty much the same thing with our 4 hour. Now when we get to our 60-minute and then our 30-minute and our 10-minute, we do start to get bearish indications off the highs. So unfortunately, we don't have an alignment of the stars this morning. It has been somewhat of a sideways choppy situation here now that we're trying to push and make new all-time highs again. And so without a nice confluence on every single time frame, we are going to have some conditions this morning. We need to get through that 83 quarter in order to have more of a bullish bias this morning. And if we can't get through 83 quarter, or we get through 83 quarter by a point or two, and they can't hold above and start pulling back, we will have more of a bearish bias for the morning here. So that's where we'll leave it. Remember that we are in the throes of the summer doldrums, can be fairly low volume, and if it's characteristic, or if the market today is similar to the way the market has been recently, we could see a lot of sideways chop, and then at the end of the day get some type of really nice trending move. So that has been kind of characteristic of the market for the last few weeks, if not months. And that's where we stand today. Something I do want to quickly point out before we wrap up the pre-market here is what happened yesterday, and you can see it here on the 3-minute chart. What happened is we talked about 64.75 yesterday as being an important level for the bulls to hold. And so, we sat here all morning waiting for a decent trade setup. There happened to be one good short that I gave the room here right around, I think 72 quarter, 72.75, somewhere over here. But unfortunately, it just chopped all morning. We ended our session here around 8 a.m. Pacific, and then again was still pretty choppy. Looked like we might have some type of sell-off, and then recovered, pushed right back up until the middle of that range. And then about 10:30 to 11 a.m. Pacific, we came right into that 64.75 level. We broke it by 2 ticks, got a decent bullish divergence on our short time frames, and then from there got a huge push out of that level. So that 64.75 was kind of our line in the sand for the bulls yesterday, and they did hold it with some decent bullish indications to try it long, and that really would have been the best trade. So the only reason I point that out is because we specifically talked about needing to hold this level, and that's exactly what the bulls did. They did break by 2 ticks, so this is a great example of pushing into a level where we have a divergence. They break it by a little bit, in this case just 2 ticks, sometimes it's a point, and then they continue in the direction that we expect. So this morning here, this 73 to 71.75 could play out in a similar way, and so we'll just have to watch. So that's what we have for this morning, and we'll leave it at that. So we'll look at our short time frames here and see if we can get a nice clear setup coming into the open.